you are a community club. DCFC is a community-built club. And it will always
team is pitching a plan to revitalize a historic gem in our community, and it's a project that's driven by their passion for their sport.
State of disrepair right now. Concrete sort of crumbling a little bit. The bleachers.
Football club. We're at Keywood Stadium. This stadium was built in 1936. Simply put,
it's amazing to see just how far they have come. Years ago, they were playing over at Gas Tech, and now so many people.
I don't think somebody's scored the goal to really settle in. The post and Stephon St. Louis is there to clear it.
Yeah, in the background, they give us the 12th man. It's awesome.
It's fans to watch. We're happy to put on a show for all these guys that came out to see us play.
So. When we move, they move, and just communication is the biggest part.
Great. I think we could have earned a shutout earlier against Sparta in the year.
Awesome. The atmosphere is amazing.
Monday with the right foot. It's in the back of the net.
People know us now. People know what to expect. Now we gotta take it to another level.
Look, city till I die. Say hi to the bad fella. Hella smooth with the flow, so grab your umbrella. Yeah, we make it rain, bring the pain. Things are changing. Power rankings take a spanking, got them rearranging. They said Denise are all stars till we deboed all y'all. Ball of fist and brawl y'all. Yeah, we pissed off all y'all, and we thin but still winning. Grinning at the top, got up under head spinning, make that chin pop. Blue collar clocking in. They been mocking us for days till they step into the key, and they been leaving with a fade, doubting us, but then they swayed. Say we pout, they throwing shade. You will never have what we have, time to get the blade, cause we'll be cutting them up. Yeah, we're shutting them up. We ain't bluffing, tell you something, better knuckle up. Y'all ain't nothing but chumps, we put in overtime. We'll be putting in work until it's closing time. City till I die, talking blood, sweat, and tears. City till I die, we've been building this for years. City till I die.
Evening, motherfuckers, one and all. Tuesday, February 20th. We're almost done with 2 months of the year. Holy shit. And a new era, as some of you can actually see, for Channel 451 Tunnel Talk. Because in addition to hearing the sweet sounds of all of our voices, you can see our sort of ugly-ish mugs. What's up, motherfuckers? Oh,
that's weird.
Yeah, that kind of seemed like projection here.
Yeah. Why don't you like yourself, Garrett?
I look in the mirror and I see an ugly mug.
Hey, it's the season of Lent. Repent, right?
I just hope the video actually works out when we actually go and try to do it.
Oh, God.
Optimism.
So...
There's no guarantees.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like life and everything. Maybe we'll see what goes.
Where's Jaime at? Is he at Kroger right now?
Jaime might be at Kroger. Rod might be leaving the Livonia section of the Vatican, also repenting because Adam with one of the best jokes I heard Friday night of Gold Star giving up professional football for Lent.
For those who don't know, Gold Star ceased operations and they're going to quote unquote return in 2025, right?
Yeah, they're gonna have a car wash and do some fundraising. Sell some cookies, maybe.
They're gonna find a different religion to pay for their bills.
Rod's picking up Roddy from the airport right now to go help out with that car wash.
Apparently, the cost of Spirit Airlines has increased significantly so much that they're going to be doing car washes. But yeah, when they get here, we'll do our usual seances. But it has been since we last recorded, it's been a fun amount of stuff taking place in the Detroit City FC world, as well as some dumb shit in the form of U.S. soccer, which we will get to.
When is there not?
Yeah. But why don't we start off with maybe one of the most recent things and a highly entertaining thing that took place on Saturday night, the home finale for the women's PASL match, and that was taking on WAZA and Dom, and my first ever experience of Dom in person. And yeah, y'all weren't fucking kidding. a match that a wonderful sold out crowd. Were the foam sticks ours or were they WAZAs?
I think they are ours because it was disco night. So,
oh yeah, that. Yeah. Puck really loved the disco sticks to the point, as you can see, with the disco stick being busted in the light in our Mullining for City, as well as trying to use it as a bat against my head. But like
they had some use then, huh?
Yeah. But similar to that level of abuse was Detroit City against WAZA, 15-1. And I was shocked, and to think that I was pissed off after we were only up 1-0 after the first period. I mean, yeah. I mean, let's get into it. Alan, start us off, then Red, Adam, then.
Well, I'm still pissed off about the one goal. So, yeah, how could we let that happen? But, yeah, it was had that event feel again. You know, all these games have been just tremendous in terms of the turnout and the level of excitement and you know, old folks, new folks, even getting to meet some of the players' parents. It's just wild. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And it's not quite over for us. We've got a series of road games coming up. But in terms of the event on Saturday, I think we all had a kind of a notion that this might, you know, play out like it did. And we were not disappointed. After a slow start, the goals started pouring in. And the WAZA squad, of which the composition of that squad has been a topic of discussion since the game, couldn't cope with that very well. So, and, you know, could be because some of their players were like 12 years old. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly.
Well, that might help you get your wish, Alan, because if it goes down as a forfeit, it goes down as a 3-0 win, which will be a clean sheet.
Wow. Yeah. Let's give up 15 goals.
It's like
that one goal that they got.
It's like the monkey paw version of Alan wishing for a clean sheet.
It's like that. Not like that.
Red, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo what Alan was saying about the environment, the atmosphere. It's been nice. It's been consistent. Autumn home matches that we had for PASL at the field house. It was good. It was good vibes, man. Yeah, I mean, you know, tough fought battle, I guess, for the first quarter. 1-0 at the end of the quarter. And then I think it was like about the first 5 minutes of the second quarter and the last 5 minutes of the second quarter, we pounded on them. What was it, 7-0 at half?
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I mean, in terms of the soccer, I kind of tuned out after the first half because it's like, you ever watch like a UFC match where somebody gets knocked down and then there's that one moment where they're getting ready to punch somebody when their head's on the canvas? I don't like watching that part. So that's why I didn't really pay attention in the second half because, you know, I didn't want to see that kind of abuse. It was, but I did, you know, after I gathered myself, I did actually watch the stream again yesterday. And, yeah, it was a pretty beautiful thing, man. They, you know, after the first quarter, obviously, as Danny mentioned, I think it was Garrett in your post-match interview, they made some adjustments.
Fatima Nasser was our post-match.
I'm mixing it up with the club's interview, yeah.
But she had mentioned that Coach Danny Evans asked the squad after the first quarter, "Are you guys having fun? You don't look like you're having fun."
Yeah.
And they had fun.
Yeah, and they clearly, you know, I think one of the things that I saw is that there was a intentional strategic shift to go more directly to the goal after that first half. They were, you know, maybe playing a little bit, trying to play with the ball a little bit too much, maybe more too possession oriented in the midfield in the first quarter. And while they might have some possession, weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. And once they started attacking the goal, it was just lights out, man. It was lights out. I mean, setting aside the fact that, rumor had it that WAZA was short on players and recruited some last minute folks that, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but some of them girls in warm-ups looked really young relative to, it's not to say that we don't have some young women in our fold on our squad, you know what I mean? But a good amount of them are, grown and established in ways. And they just, some of them, and it looked like Dominic was like teaching them basic fundamentals. It looked like, soccer tots warming up before the match. And it just, it was, I don't know. It looked pretty bad.
One of the intermissions, he went down on his knees and stuck his hands out. It kind of looked like, probably, I realized, took me a couple days to realize this. Like, you ever see the scene of when Jimi Hendrix lit his guitar on fire at Monterey, and he was like, summoning the spirits of that? Dom was trying to do that, except there was nothing on the fucking ground, just him.
Yeah.
Did they warm up with a soccer ball?
Yeah, and then Dom looked like a member of the Doobie Brothers circa 1968.
I'm just going to interject.
There was a hacky sack before the soccer ball. They did about 45-minute warm-up with a hacky sack.
That tracks for sure. I've got two great Dominic Cicluna stories in my life. And I'll tell one of them right now, which goes thusly. We're playing youth soccer. It's, I think, like under 10 boys. We're into the warm-up, and they do the entire warm-up without a single soccer ball. And Dom is just in there. He's saying, all right, I need you to visualize yourself hitting this shot top bins. Upper night, just visualize it. And so this kid is walking up, eyes closed, and he just like hits a shot, no ball, just the motions. And he's like, I visualized it, going top bins. And they do like 30 minutes of this. I did a bicycle kick. I visualized it. We did a warm up with the ball, and we proceeded to win. I think like 12-0.
Revolutionary.
It didn't go quite according to the visualization. So that's one of my great Dom Cicluna stories.
Well, even though the thing about him, I'll give him credit in one area. We might have lost 15-1, but after the match, we got served. Like, I don't know if you saw after the match, he came on the pitch, and he did his breaking two boogaloo deal right at us. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was stuck for a couple of days.
Then he bombed, and then he showed up at the end of the interview we did with Fatima and was like complimenting her hair as part of the reason. Oh, I know. It's just like,
oh, is that who was interrupting?
Yeah, I was fucking Dom.
Okay, I was wondering.
I just took a look at Adam behind the camera, and Adam's like got this dead stare thing, like he kind of does now. Like, what do we do? So
what do we do? I mean, I wanted to interview Dom, but you didn't want to.
You just gotta let him cook. When Dom is doing Dom things, you just let him cook, and you just add it to the list of stories. Dom lore.
So we might do that in 2 weeks. Adam, roll, and then Jaime.
Welcome, Jaime.
Yeah. What else? Oh, wow! Forget Dennis. Jesus.
I said Adam. Then.
He did.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I thought he forgot Dennis.
Said Adam.
I mean, what else could you say? It was a massacre. It was. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell like how good the team actually played, all things considered, that night. I mean, obviously they just went out and annihilated them. I don't know if that was their best game that they've played considering the competition, but when you look at the way that the team has played as a whole throughout this season, they've played very well. In their first season of as an arena team, which I know that some of them have had prior experience to that, some of it on WAZA. And I really want to play that Louisville game again. I want to see the rematch between Detroit City FC and Louisville Triumph, and you hope obviously that there would be a different result, and that City will play a little bit better in that return. Which I don't know. I think they do play a rematch game here coming up this time in Louisville. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot that can be said for what happened Saturday night. I'm glad we weren't on the other end of that score. I'm glad that we were the ones dishing out the 15. And I don't know if Alan was joking or not, but I was a little disappointed that we gave up that goal.
I was like,
yeah, and the thing that sucked about that goal is it happened right in the middle of Battlefield. So
whatever time it was.
Yeah, whatever time it was. I mean, they just kept going with it, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, I think I was a little upset that they gave up that goal. I wanted to see City blank them, which they should have, but who knows? I guess we'll have to see here in the next, maybe next week or something, to see if PASL modifies that score sheet. But I mean, I'm kind of surprised though they did it in the first place. Between who was it? Was it Cincinnati and WAZA?
Think so.
I don't know. This league doesn't seem organized enough to go and make those types of decisions. So whatever. I don't care what PASL does. We won 15-1. It's like when the NCAA tries to retract wins. We won that. I was there Saturday night. We saw the goals. We won 15-1. PASL can't do shit about it. They can't take away my memories. So fuck you, PASL.
It's on video, damn it.
It is on video.
Oh, we do not play Louisville again.
Oh fuck.
Actually, we might in playoffs.
In the regular season.
Yeah. So, Dennis, your turn, my friend.
I'm just waiting now. We won't be able to see because his background is blurred, but just waiting for Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones to walk in Adam's door to wipe his memory, so that sent by PASL to be like, yeah, we'll see about that. Did the WAZA Louisville match get played and then forfeited, or did they just not travel?
I heard Cincy scored 14.
Oh, and then they made it at 3-0, like after the forfeit. Oh, I just assumed WAZA didn't travel to Louisville because they didn't have enough players.
They couldn't visualize the travel.
Yeah, they couldn't visualize a bus. Because I was explaining to Rebecca about how the scoreline might get changed now because of this, and she's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, usually when this happens, it's to suit the team who lost. Like the team who lost might put in a dispute to say, hey, well, they shouldn't have used those players, so we should have won. Well, in a situation where they threw together enough players to play a game, you think just leave the scores alone. It didn't hurt anybody. It actually helped WAZA because it meant they didn't have to play with 7 players or whatever, even if they had to go and coach the fucking girls that Jaime coaches to play for them. And then I heard one of them lost their ID when she was getting changed to go play down by the field. Oh. Some girl that they poached from up in the bar before the game or whatever. So yeah, just add it to the Chronicles of Dom, I guess. There's not a ton to say about a 15-1 win, except that everybody looks like they're having fun out there. Kayla looks like she's having fun. Fatima looks like she's having fun. All those they all look like they're having fun. It seems to be stuff about the team and around the team and videos of the team seems to be all that Gabby Schriver is sharing on her Instagram story nowadays. So it does seem like they're all having fun and that this is this is a good thing for them and a good thing to have them together for the winter. And, you know, if we get a couple players out of it from WAZA that we poached that end up making like the summer team, I hear we're going to have two women's teams again this summer. So,
oh, really? Oh, wow.
You know, they're gonna need players to make them be able to drop and jump in between the two, similar to the men. And like if some of those players come from this team that, like, again, we've mentioned before that this is an endeavor that the girls threw together themselves. I catch myself saying girls all the time, women. Like, I don't mean it demeaning or anything. It's just like I call lads and girls. Like, it's just, but yeah, it's it looks like they're having fun. It looks like they're enjoying themselves. It's a time they wouldn't usually be playing soccer together. At least, like, they might be off doing their own stuff with the local training program or whatever. But they wouldn't be doing this together and have a team and a bond and whatever. And yeah, now we move into the away portion of the season away, because obviously we've still got the big WAZA return game that will be played also at the field house. And I hear rumblings that there's an event going on before that up in the bar, the Kill the Keg event run by NGS. So yeah, I mean, get yourselves down to that, and then get yourselves down to watch the game and see how WAZA organize the game, because I'm also told that, like, it will be the WAZA staff in charge that night. So go and see how it is from the other side.
It's easy to win 15-1 at home. Wait until we travel away to WAZA.
Oh yeah.
Jaime, before that,
visualizing a bus for sure.
My one thing about if this does become a 3-0, what sucks is because Fatima was telling me that had we were battling Columbus for tops, and a part of it was depending on goal difference. So if this does become a 3-0 forfeit, I think we do kind of get fucked in that regard. So I feel in that situation, I also would be like, WAZA would be like, hey, you got a goal at least. Why don't you just, have much more goals against?
Celebrate.
Yeah, right? Unleash the dragon that's on your kit.
Oh my God, the kits!
Did we talk about this yet or no?
No, Jaime, you can talk about this.
All right. Okay, so I didn't make it out, unfortunately. My indoor game that I was coaching ran late. Anyways, I get there, I'm in the group chat, and everyone's talking about the uniforms, the kits, and I'm like, what? So I get out the game on, and I'm like, is it like small intestines on the lower half of the shirt? Like, couldn't really figure out what it was. And then I think maybe Adam was like, oh, no, it's a dragon, the WAZA dragon of,
The WAZA dragon.
The WAZA dragon.
Like destiny.
Exactly.
You're destined to get your ass kicked.
What a terrible design. And even if I was a player, I think I would have tucked my shirt in just so that dragon head that looked like intestines wasn't resting right on the area where my intestines would be.
It was worse than that, Jaime. The dragon was resting on the. Is he trying to be PG or G about it?
I think he's
because the dragon was resting.
Trying to be respectful about it.
Yeah, it wasn't on the intestines, Jaime.
Might have been a little bit lower.
Richard, it was a little lower. It was gross.
Yeah,
it was inappropriate and it was gross.
Dom did not visualize the effect of the.
No, we did not visualize that
on the kit.
No, once we visualized it, it was like getting it out of our head.
Great, best. If this is our first video, fuck, we got a lot to. This is the benchmark for sure.
Well, what if you're one of those subs that he's trying to recruit up in the clubhouse, and you go down there to the tents, and here's your uniform.
Yeah, that's it.
No, that's
Jesus.
Jaime, point on the body where the dragon was.
Wow.
Well, I don't have a dragon. I don't have a pointer, but
in this area?
Sort of in the general location of number 23.
Mm.
The timing of that was incredible.
God damn it.
Okay.
People are gonna think
Focus.
we planned that, and I need y'all to know no planning goes into this.
No, zero.
None.
Here's the
There may
link.
be-
You at 9.
There may be an agenda, but that gets thrown out the fucking window quick. But yeah, Jaime, how disappointed were you to learn that Del Taco's lobby at Ford Road and Telegraph in Dearborn Heights was closed at 10?
Bro, I thought I was gonna finally fulfill my vow and get Garrett his Del Taco. I was like, let's go after the game. It says open 24 hours. Garrett's like, I'm gonna call.
Because I know Del Taco shit.
Exactly. That does not sound like Del Taco. So apparently the drive-thru is open 24 hours, but the eat-in is closed at 10. So
No, maybe they open later in the summer. We'll stay tuned.
We'll see.
If anyone that's listening or sees this works at the Del Taco at Ford and Telegraph in Dearborn Heights, we are looking to see as God damn it, Red, as for the fulfillment of the Ben Morris bets from last season.
Yeah.
If you open past 10, it would be much appreciated. Come some May, June, July, etc.
Expand those hours, please.
Yeah, because that is our in-between joint for Ann Arbor and Warren. So I was going to talk about the showcase real quick. I'm going to highlight briefly the 5 remaining W Leagues, and then it makes sense also to talk about the W League schedule that came out last week. Remaining PSL 5 of the regular season, Kalamazoo United, this coming Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. WAZA, air quote away. Saturday, March 2nd, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Apparently, kegs are being killed at the clubhouse upstairs. So, y'all, yeah, it's going to be a fun people watching experience. And then maybe we score 20 on WAZA this time, unless they forfeit that one too. Zoo City away, Friday, March 6th in Kalamazoo.
In Toledo.
7 p.m. Eastern for that one. Will there be tears like the first fixture? We shall see. Cincinnati Sirens away Saturday, March 16th, 7:30 p.m. And then Great Lakes FC with the commissioner of the league and his fancy suits. Saturday, March 30th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I don't know where they play at in Grand Rapids. Den, I can't see what that thing is. That looks really, really blurry.
No, it's I forgot about the blur.
So, and then the playoffs are the weekend after that. Perfect. Great Lakes Brewing, which actually they're in Ohio, right?
They got a zoo in Ohio.
Yeah,
in Toledo, right?
I was actually there today.
The only zoo in the country, as far as I'm aware.
Now on to W League. The schedules come out. The women start off the W League. 2 games against Flint City. First one away Saturday, May 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Then the home openers against Flint the following Saturday, May 18th, 7 p.m. There's going to be a couple of 4 p.m. games at home this year. Cleveland Force on Saturday, June 1st. Ann Arbor home Saturday, June 8th at 4 p.m. The men's-women's doubleheader this year is Saturday, June 15th. The men will be taking on Charleston Battery and their potential for piss kits again, although no Declan win this time. That is the men's games at 4 o'clock, and then
Did he fly for anyone yet?
I haven't seen him on there. Midwest United.
Gone back to New Zealand with his tail between his legs.
Boomerang. Then Saturday, June 15th, the women is the evening part of the doubleheader. Midwest United, 7 p.m. Then Kalamazoo, 4 p.m. June 22nd, and that is the home finale. The women, much like last season and the regular season, at Ann Arbor, Sunday, June 30th at 3 p.m. Does anyone have any comments or anything about the W League schedule that came out?
I have a comment.
Go on.
There's nothing worse for a player than going on to Transfermarkt and seeing at the very top without a club or without club, which is what Declan Wynn has right now.
Ooh. Was the grass greener?
You just hate to see it.
It was.
You hate to see it.
It was softer.
That's why he slipped that when it was 0-0.
Softer.
Anyways, no, it's better schedule than last year. I like the schedule more than last year. It's good that they got better with that. The times seem a little bit better. More Saturday matches. More of an opportunity for people to come out and watch the women's side play. So yeah, the only thing is that we need to get some results.
Agreed. A quote from Alex when the club announced the schedule was that we've implemented, because you noticed there was a lot more afternoon starts this year. We've implemented feedback from our supporters about featuring earlier kickoff times amongst the traditional 7 o'clock starts, which will make this year's team more accessible than ever. So hopefully that does lead to more people in the stands, especially as the matches are fun. The team last year was fun. Goals were to be had, especially when we played Ann Arbor. Den?
I think that's Alex's way of, in a family-friendly way, saying, if you don't support the women, you're a fucking casual. So.
Yes.
It's a ways off still, but, get your arses out to the women for some games at 4 o'clock. Like a wonderful summer day. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, bring the sunscreen because, you do want to take care of yourself in this situation. Yeah. And all that fun stuff. Speaking of places that don't have grass, that's the desert, which the men were recently in Arizona.
Just gonna say after, regarding the women's schedule, match against AFC Ann Arbor in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. After party is at my house. So
we doing it.
Everybody's invited. Everybody.
Wow.
All right.
Oh shit.
Wait, do we know? Do they know where they're playing yet in Ann Arbor?
Probably not.
Maybe.
Where are you? Are you close to Pioneer?
Speaking of breaking news, though, Concordia, the infamous stadium, 2019, the match which we won 3-1. Sean Claude Lawson hat trick.
Yep.
Also the infamous day of the no lights game. Is closing its doors. Concordia University is closing its doors.
Whoa.
So the stadium, which is pretty new, is up for grabs. So
wait a second. Concordia is the college is closing?
Yeah, the university is closing down.
Damn.
Wow.
Low enrollment. It's kind of a niche school if you're like really Lutheran.
My mom briefly went to Concordia and then transferred out in the 70s. So yeah.
But so RIP Concordia.
That was the beginning of the end right there.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not telling my mom that. Sure, you live better than that shit. But yeah.
Are you suggesting we should buy the stadium?
I thought you were telling me they were going to be
I'm
out of the lights.
suggesting AFC Ann Arbor should buy the stadium.
Oh.
I was gonna say I don't think we can call ourselves ECFC if we're playing in Ann Arbor.
No.
That's a stretch.
I thought we would buy the stadium.
Hamtramck is of course has a word.
Exactly.
I guess I work in Dexter, and that must be the reason why these Concordia people haven't picked up their order yet from where I work. It's just been sitting there.
Put it in the dumpster now.
I still expect to be paid,
we don't need it anymore.
I mean, consecrate it before you put it in the dumpster. Jesus. Yeah. All right. Back to the desert. The men just.
That was a heck of a segue too, and it just got blasted. I mean,
sorry.
It's all good. Men just got back from the desert, the Desert Showcase. 3 friendlies took place. Saturday the 10th against Grand Canyon U, a 2-0 win. Last Tuesday the 13th, a 1-0 defeat to New Mexico United. And the 15th, a 1-0 win against El Paso Locomotive. Yazid Matthews via Reese Williams' assist. Different formations each match. Some more trialists featured in the squad. Anyone else have any thoughts, special things they want to add regarding the 3 that took place in the desert? Who wants
that
to
1-0 loss to New Mexico really hurt.
Adam was
Flashbacks.
pissed. Adam was really pissed.
Flashbacks.
It It was a close game, though. It was a pretty fast pace.
Shut up, Brad. You don't watch it.
A lot of ball.
He flew out. He flew out.
A lot of balls moving around. Players playing and stuff, man. How the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Balls getting kicked, not just visualized.
I didn't see the game.
Picture New Mexico, however they did it, meeting the ball and the ball going into the net.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we would have done the same thing that they did, but did it twice, well, we could have came out of that match with a preseason victory.
We did beat El Paso again, so we can successfully say choo-choo, motherfuckers. Now, the next match is, unfortunately, the team has to go to Ohio in a couple of days, take on Columbus Crew 2 at historic First Stadium.
Maybe they can stop at the zoo, though, on the way.
Yeah.
Columbus Zoo is actually outrageous. It's amazing.
That'd be a nice treat for the boys.
They've got golden pheasant at the Columbus Zoo.
How far is Toledo from Columbus?
Next friendly after that is the 29.
Like 2.5 hours.
Before they
You could
head
actually
out
go
the
to
door
both.
against England.
You can go to both. You can go to the Toledo Zoo and
On the way.
On the way, yeah, it's on the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not often you're in the Toledo area to get to the only zoo in the country, so you might as well make use of that.
Anyone else have any more thoughts on the Desert Showcase?
This might be our greatest ever bit, and it's totally it totally came together naturally. Like, it's not one of our contrived bits that we.
I'm telling you, the more you think about it, the funnier it
comedy.
is.
I tell Rebecca about it, and she's like, she thought it was the funniest thing ever. So now whenever we're talking about like going anywhere, we're like, well, maybe we'll go to Toledo to the zoo instead.
Yeah. Zoos, man. Fucking zoos. So yeah. Speaking of zoos, and speaking of Concordia, the UPSL in news today. The Detroit City FC 2 announced their head coach, being Charlie Miles, a assistant coach formerly at Concordia. Now the head coach for the 2 side, who's also has some experience as an assistant for the women's team in 2021, a coach at Detroit City FC West in the youth side since 2016, a USSF B license for coaching, and there will be tryouts taking place March 10th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. across the street from the field house at Martin Luther King. Additionally, the teams that make up the Midwest East Conference for spring play of UPSL was announced. I think Dennis brought it to our attention last night, so let me bring this up here. We have... God damn, there were a lot of jokes. Oh, here we go. Hamtramck City in Hamtramck, they play at Keyworth. A handful of Detroit teams listed: Alianza, who I know do regular at Detroit City Clubhouse, Detroit United, Real Detroit FC. Although, Jaime, it doesn't look like they play in Real Madrid colors, so that might break your heart.
I thought that was real Detroit FC. I thought they were like slamming us.
Detroit United, and then our 2 side listed as playing in Detroit and not Hamtramck. So, thinks potential. What anyone wants? If anyone can speculate where else they want to play, other than Keyworth, 2 Dearborn sides, AIMSC, because everyone loves Instant Messenger, right? And then Dearborn United FC. We got a team out in Milford, Duca FC.
Duki FC.
Wait, so they are massive fans of the Green Day initial album from 1994.
Yeah. It's pronounced Duki.
Oh shit.
30 years. 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. In Royal Oak, United Stars Soccer Academy. not related to one Stars That Sharp up in Romeo.
What about, are they related to Gold Stars?
Too soon, Jaime. Too soon.
Rod's not here. It's wasted.
FK Olympique in Macomb, and then Drita FC in Rochester Hills.
That's not a real name.
Is it Drita? And then
He's just commenting on how stupid these names are. Red, you're gonna have to drop a diss track about how stupid these names are.
Yeah.
New project.
And then the team furthest out, Pass FC Pro, in Grand Rapids.
It's a lot of teams.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams
for a 6-week summer league.
How are they throwing a Grand Rapids team in there?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Like it's all Detroit, Dearborn, Hamtramck, Macomb. You know, you're getting.
They're gonna come. They're gonna come this side and
Milford.
play 4 away games in one weekend.
That's insane.
Staggered.
You sneak in a little Grand Rapids. What?
Yeah.
What league is that?
Schedule's not out yet.
No, what league is that? Is that Ypsilanti team in?
MWPO, right?
Yeah.
Is that in Liquids League?
Oh yeah. I think so.
Yeah. They're in the Midwest Premier League. Okay.
Yeah. So UPSL spring, this will be taking place in the spring, and then this side that is the 2 reserve team will also be taking part in USL Academy Cup or season, which starts in the summer. So, and as Dennis mentioned, we should be also expecting a 2 women's side as well. Although what that league is, and that is to be determined. Anyone have any?
According to sources on that 2 team for the women's side, it sounds like it's going to be like a upper academy type of team for the women.
Okay.
Like
that
an
means
upper
what?
echelon of the academy
U19
players.
or something?
Yeah, like that's what they're. It sounds like that's what the team is going to be most comprised of. Whereas the men's 2 team may be mixed with professional players, rehabbing players, and then academy players. So
we will
I have
keep
no idea what
everybody-
team they're in.
We will keep everybody in the loop as we find out more from sources and all that. Believe, even if
We'll keep you up to date as the club tries to kill all the supporters trying to go to all these games. So
it is like 2021 all over again.
that was quite a year. That summer,
I almost drummed my soul out of my body that year.
we didn't go to all those games. I went to most of those. Some of those games. It was
going out
incredible.
to Byron Center to play the fucking West Michigan team. The one guy,
The Bearings.
Out in Byron Center on Tuesday night when it's Roger Beck, myself looking like Lemmy circa 1984, the drum and a handful of parents, player parents. Yeah, man, that was, at least the football was dope.
Did you go to the Byron Center Family Diner?
I didn't go to the diner, but I stopped at the Jimmy John's where the Shell was at before getting on the highway on the way home.
The diner is a must.
Maybe that's where I'll go after we play Pass Pro FC, depending on where they're at in fucking Grand Rapids.
Well, at least the UPSL teams are local, most of them.
Yeah.
Should mitigate the problem costs.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and sometimes, as Alan can attest to, when the reserve side of 2021, those games are really fucking fun.
Oh, it's a blast.
Especially the last game, the home finale against Lansing Common. So,
it's all shenanigans.
Perfect segue. Open Cup discussion time, y'all. Who wants to lead off? Do I have to pick one, or is somebody ready to put me in, coach? I'm ready to play.
Oh, someone break down what happened, because not everybody's in the loop, right?
Yeah, well, even the people who are in the loop. It's hard to follow because it is such a absolute shit show.
Nobody
The
knows.
loop is constantly changing. The loop is constantly switching how it's looping. Sometimes it's like the infinity. Sometimes it's just like a circle. But it's constantly...
to summarize this without taking 4 hours, the schedule for Open Cup has been delayed and people didn't know why. Turns out MLS wanted to just quit, and this had to do with whether their MLS Next Pro teams could be participating in instead of the senior teams. And so there's back and forth on that, and finally something got worked out where the U.S. Soccer Federation basically said it is mandatory to participate in this tournament, so you have to do it. And I was like, okay.
Before you're sanctioning.
Well, to be in compliance, you had to participate. It's required. It's in the bylaws. There's no question about it. So, but that turned out it wasn't the end of the story. And negotiations continued to the point where they broke down, and the word out in the soccer press was, no tournament. Sorry, folks. We can't figure out how to do this thing and keep everyone satisfied. So, of course, we grabbed our torches and pitchforks and started to tell them what's up.
Tweeted a lot.
Stinking MLS wrecking soccer in America. So that was kind of where things stood. And then all of a sudden we find out, oh, well, maybe things have worked out. That subsequent negotiations worked out some sort of arrangement with MLS that they would participate partially. Well, I don't know what the hell that means. But it's moving forward. So hooray. Well, it turns out that part of MLS's deal on this, their problem with this, had to do with money. They wanted a piece of the away gate. Which, who's that coming from? It's not coming from them. It's coming from the lower division teams. So they basically want USL to pay MLS to play in this fucking tournament. So
and now rumblings,
because they got to pay Messi, man.
Yeah,
they need some new revenue streams.
It's the shakedown.
There was then something I saw, which got to you guys from USL News and Rumors, who's been pretty accurate. Whoever it is has been pretty accurate on dropping some things within the league before stuff becomes official, usually in the terms of who's coaching and all that stuff. But is one of the things that was said earlier. Actually, this looks like it was late last night. Hearing that a lot of USL Championship clubs are actually discussing removing themselves from the Open Cup. In this tweet, it said purely on principle, but is it principle? Is it money? Is it a mix of both? Who knows? So, Den, ready to go second?
That was a great, succinct roundup of the fucking tomfoolery. But I think also some of that was that the MLS teams want, when they travel to away games, 40% of the gate, but they also were not willing to give 40% of the gate when a lower league team needs to come and visit them. So therein lies the rub, is that MLS, I think, are just trying to make it so that the USL or the lower league teams look like the bad guys, because they're like, well, we presented a deal and they won't do it. Like,
right.
So the MLS is basically
the disingenuous
saying, they're basically saying there's too many
use a
games.
poison pill, yeah.
They're saying there's too many games now, so they don't want to play the Open Cup. The only reason that there's too many games is because the MLS and whoever fucking else was involved came up with this new tournament that they're going to play the Leagues Cup.
Apple Plus.
Which is a bullshit league just done so that they can fucking push Messi out there more, or whoever, whatever fucking players.
You know, it's so they could sit there and try to
Liga MX, right?
Liga MX. Yeah. That's what it is. They're trying to not only are they trying to take over soccer in the United States,
the
they're
most
now trying
popular
to take over
league in America
Mexico.
is Liga MX, and they're trying to coattail on the back of what is the most popular league in the United States, which is Liga MX.
Right.
And so they cooked up this tournament, which I'm not clear why the Mexican league teams are even like willing to do this, but
because it's probably in between their two seasons. Because
it could
in
be.
Liga MX they play 2 seasons, right? They play a spring season and a fall season, and then the winners of both seasons play each other in a final, unless the same team wins both. In which case they're just fucking grand champions or whatever.
So it's just free money for them.
The solution to this fucking there's too many games now would be we'll just have like bigger squads. So like you would see in England, like Premier League teams in the early rounds of the FA Cup, maybe they play some of their fucking kids or whatever. But also MLS has some stupid arbitrary fucking squad size rule that they also decided themselves. So now you're telling me the reason they can't play in the Open Cup, which is the oldest fucking soccer competition in the country, right? And it's like it's up there in the world too, like as like the third or fourth.
Not the oldest sporting competition
in the U.S.
1914.
So now you're telling me that you have to pull yourselves out of this fucking tournament because of 2 things that are like your own doing. Like you added this fucking extra competition, and you added this rule that you could only have 23 players on your team or whatever. Like I don't even know what it is, but like just fucking change the rule. Like you could have quietly, and someone made this point, they could have quietly just played their kids, their next pro kids in this tournament, and nobody would have said fucking boo, because like that's what Columbus did when they came to Detroit anyway, right? They played not all of their starters. Like they had dudes on their bench whose yearly salary was more than the whole fucking running costs of DCFC for a year. Like they could have just done that, but then like the rebuttal to that is, well, that would have not made their point for them. Like they want to get out of this tournament or this competition, and they're just trying to do it in such a way that they don't look like the assholes, even though we all know they're the fucking assholes, because they're always the assholes in this. And they just don't want to fucking, they want to get out of this because it's embarrassing for them to come to fucking Detroit or wherever and lose their games and fucking and go home with their tails between their legs in a cup set, which I hate that word, but whatever, it works here, in a cup set, and fucking and that's what they're trying to stop happening, because now they're like, well, we're just not going to play, or maybe we'll just send 8 of our teams. So in that, like, if they're just going to send 8 of their teams, is it the 8 worst teams from the league that aren't going to be in the Leagues Cup? So then it's like a punishment for these teams, so they're just going to play their kids anyway. So like, it's so stupid, and it's all their own doing, and like, there's no winning this for them. I understand why some USL teams are thinking about pulling out, because why would they be in a competition that they're not going to make any money on, and it's going to cost them money to travel to these MLS stadiums, and they're not going to make any money off them, because Don Garber, at the behest of all these fucking billionaire owners, threw his toys out of the fucking pram as the figurehead of this thing, so he gets all the blame too, and it's not even these dumbass owners that like are just like, well, we have to pay for Messi now, so how are we going to do that?
I mean, if Detroit City had to give Columbus Crew 40% of our gate, that would have been a loss. That would have been a big loss for the club. So you're talking about subsidizing those top tier teams who have millions and millions of dollars, to spend on stuff.
Not only that, too.
And part of the MLS's complaint is that the quality of the USL teams is substandard compared to what they're used to. Well, because of the way the game is in this country that they have caused to have happen. That we have
that's not even true, though.
The top division and everything else is partially because of the way they want to do business. So,
wasn't Orlando City too that was spying on Sacramento in the USL Cup final 2 years ago, or the US Cup or the US Open Cup final 2 years ago?
Like the disparity of talent thing isn't even a real thing. Otherwise, there wouldn't be all these fucking cup sets. Like, Well, like I was telling Rebecca about this yesterday, and she's like, does MLS not realize like that most of their fans are probably like USL fans? Like they don't have a ton more fans outside of like people who are already interested in soccer. Like, so like this doesn't even make sense what they're doing. Like it doesn't make sense to pull out of this thing that makes them so much fucking like it's so much promotion for them. When an upset happens in the Open Cup, it makes the fucking Sports Center top 10. Like it goes around the world, like Lad Bible and Sport Bible and all these fucking social media pages that are never talking about MLS because nobody outside America talks about MLS. Maybe in Mexico they do when they're playing an MLS team. But like MLS outside of America is a joke. It is a joke. So when stuff happens in the Open Cup, like a lower league team beating an MLS team, that's what makes the headlines. That's what goes around the world. Like if Detroit City made a run to the Open Cup final, I can guarantee the podcasts I listen to in Ireland and England about soccer would be all over it. They would be hyping it up so much, and not just because I would email them 250 times about it. Like these are the things that promotes kind of as a side byproduct the MLS outside of America is these like MLS was never as big in Ireland as it was when Robbie Keane was playing for the LA Galaxy. Like nobody cared. Even when David Beckham went there, that garnered some interest in England, but nobody in Ireland talked about MLS or even knew there was like a premier soccer league in America until Robbie Keane went to the Galaxy and played with Beckham. And like that made it huge. People were staying up like till 1, 2 in the morning to watch the fucking MLS Cup final or whatever. And like that's only because someone famous from Ireland was playing, which is what they're trying to do with Messi. But then if your one thing a year is, oh, Messi did this great thing in one game, like that's not growing your league. So all of this talk that they're talking about, like, oh, the talent isn't good enough in USL, all this shit that we just want to grow the game, blah blah blah. That is a goddamn lie. It is a lie, and this is the biggest way to show your whole ass in that lie. And it's probably good for the NASL fucking lawsuit or whatever if this happens, I imagine, because reasons.
I can't remember where I heard it, but they were talking about timing on this too, in the strides that USL has made when it comes to their television deals, notably with CBS this upcoming season, and you know the one they still have going probably with ESPN Plus. And I don't think USL should pull out any teams of the Open Cup because that's essentially what MLS wants. They want USL. They want this thing to be further illegitimized to the point where it's no longer a thing anymore. And MLS is going to be in a better position at that point to go in and take over of, all of, soccer in this country. I don't think USL are the good guys in any of this either. And this is something that the Federation has certainly cultivated, over the years. The Federation has made soccer in this country what it is today. And I don't think fans in the United States put enough pressure on the Federation. I still see a lot of blowback going against MLS, which is rightfully so. MLS should be getting plenty of blowback and plenty of criticism going their way. But in the same sense, I don't blame MLS for doing what they're doing, considering they've been able to, work with complete impunity in this country for years. But the thing with USL, and like I said, I think USL is a terrible league. Their structure sucks. It's not as bad as MLS, but at that point you're talking about the lesser of two evils, which is shitty in and of itself. However, USL is the only soccer league in this country that is going to be able to take on MLS to some extent I mean, it's not going to be NISA. It's not going to be the NPSL. It's not going to be the UPSL.
How dare you, Adam? How dare you? NISA has a lot of potential.
Okay, maybe NISA can.
Okay, Red.
But USL is going to be the only one that's going to be able to take anything to the federation, and we kind of already see them do it with the Super League and applying for Division I status and then getting it.
Yep.
Even that is ridiculous, though, right? Like, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, Adam. Like, it's yes, MLS is horrible, and yes, USL is not the greatest. Like, all these leagues are acting in in self-seeking interest, right? But it's only possible because the federation has created this environment where that's entirely possible. This does not happen anywhere else in the world. Like, I'm glad that the Super League is getting Division I status from the standpoint that, sure, it's more opportunities for women to play in the professional game, right? But two first divisions? That makes zero sense. Well, like you don't go to Germany and you see like there's the Bundesliga and then there's the Bundesliga. Like
yeah, but Germany is also like I understand your point on this, but also like I always see these things like Britain fits into Illinois. Like Illinois is as big as Britain as a whole landmass.
Sure, but what I'm saying is the structure of the federation, though.
Right.
Like it doesn't.
Soccer has no plan for professional football. They barely have any plans for youth soccer. They're just terrible at what they do.
I agree.
Ellen, you said it the other day.
All I meant by that is the country's big enough that we probably could sustain multiple, like for Division I leagues, but like they would probably have to be regionalized, and then you could switch them into, at some point, like a cup competition or like whatever, like Champions League or whatever. And that's not where we're going with it, but I think it's a bit like reductive to say, hey, you don't see this in Germany or in Britain. Like Germany is smaller than fucking Texas.
Sure, okay, but you don't see it in Brazil either.
Right.
Well, that's a big ass country with a bazillion clubs, professional, amateur, everything, right? Like, I guess what I'm saying is like the predatory nature of all these leagues exists because the federation bent over backwards to MLS all those years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're in this absolute cluster.
Well, and
because MLS is willing to save soccer in America.
I think that you're right in that respect domestically, but the USSF is also being allowed to operate the way they are, right? So, like, what I mean, FIFA's not stepping in, right?
Nope.
How do you pronounce the regional CONCACAF?
Yeah.
CONCACAF, like in this situation, right? One of the things that emerged about them potentially coming to an agreement for the U.S. Open Cup was CONCACAF stepped in and said, if you disqualify MLS from participating in the U.S. Open Cup, then your country or your federation is not going to be awarded slots in that little Champions League, Club Champions League thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the Open Cup, you wouldn't be allowed. Open Cup wouldn't be. The winner of the Open Cup wouldn't be allowed in a slot in Champions League.
Right, exactly.
Right.
If you disqualified your MLS from participating, because you know what I mean. So it's like that to me that says a lot right there, right? Is that even let's just assume best case scenario. At least I think that is consistent with where we are aligned and where the large part of our supporter base is aligned. That when I say the best case scenario, that the federation was actually holding MLS accountable, right? And that was what kind of they pushed back finally, right? And they didn't give MLS what they wanted on the front end. And then you come back to the table, and then there's this thing that drops that says MLS isn't going to be in it, right? And then out of nowhere, we hear that CONCACAF steps in and says they're going to penalize the federation if they penalize MLS. The fuck, like, what the fuck's going on here? You know what I mean? And then where's FIFA in the mix of this, right? What is it? The U.S. is still one of?
They're the only one.
One of does all like yeah. Oh man, I don't even want to get into all the details because it's just we it doesn't, nothing changes, right? And I'm not even, I wish that I could be optimistic to say, oh, this is the big one, right? The Fed's gonna lay the hammer down on MLS. No, like, because U.S. soccer, as shitty as it is relative to the global scale, still has a powerful influence that's going on. And I can't help but to think that U.S. soccer, MLS in particular, had a role in the freeze for promotion and relegation over there in Mexico, right? Because they
could
on hiatus for a couple.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It could have been one last thing. One thing for me though, Red. I think you brought up a good point though about the CONCACAF thing. I mean, I may be naive in thinking this, but my hope with that is that that's not necessarily CONCACAF siding with MLS, but more so it's CONCACAF telling the federation to get your shit in order because, yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, MLS should be in the Open Cup,
right?
And you should have, theoretically, the top league in the United States playing in a competition to measure, who's the best of the best to get that slot in the Champions League. So that's my hope with that. It's not so much siding with MLS, but telling U.S. soccer that, to get your shit in order, get a deal reached so everyone wins and you guys can go ahead with your domestic tournament, because either way, whatever happens, it's going to be disastrous if the Open Cup is mitigated in any way to, it being like a shell of its former self, or if it doesn't happen at all. I mean, can you imagine any other country, under FIFA not having their domestic cup happen? I mean, again, can you imagine in England the FA Cup not happening because Premier League is throwing a shit fit over scheduling? It's unthinkable. And I go back to, what we were talking about earlier and what Jaime was mentioning about, this being, a problem that USSF has cultivated. And it just seems insane to me that we're even in this position, given the bylaws that are already in place for Division III teams, for Division II teams, for Division I teams, that you have to play in your domestic cup. You have to play in the U.S. Open Cup. And to even think that, MLS can bring U.S. soccer to a negotiating table over shit that they originally agreed to back in 1996 is the most insane thing in the world when you think about it. And what's to negotiate here? I want chaos in all of this. I want the federation to burn. I want them to pull sanctioning for MLS, and I want the whole thing to burn to the fucking ground because it needs to.
You know why I don't understand that issues have already been raised, like why issues have not already been raised from the outside in related to our domestic cup in and of itself. Because the U.S. Open Cup, as great as it is, right, especially for those of us who are supporting clubs who are in the lower leagues, it's not even merit-based, right? So, meaning that, okay, you're a top tier, so you come into a certain round, but you don't even earn your top tier, right? You don't earn your tier in this country. Now, I don't want to, get us down that rabbit hole of having that pro-rail conversation, but at the end of the day, in these other countries, the way that those tournaments are structured, it's at least still based off of merit. And then we could also have the conversation that the money's still a thing, right? And that creates an equity within those systems as well. But, there's no structure that's put in place that doesn't allow for that domestic cup to truly be a meritocracy, in the sense that even when you get by, and that includes us, right? We didn't earn our right. We could talk about what we did in the in the amateur league and in the Division III and whatnot, but we didn't get promoted and earn our right to Division II, right? We didn't earn our right to get to Division III professionally, right? We didn't.
Nope. We spent money.
Right. We spent money and we got somebody with a deeper pocket that would meet the qualifications, and then there is a league that wanted us in their market, and you know what I mean. So it's money in markets. Right. So
and look what's happening. Look what's happening to Flower City, right? They just won NISA last year and are bumping back down to NPSL.
And they were going to go to League Two, but apparently NISA stepped in. So one thing I'll add to it. Alan, you were talking about imagine if MLS teams took 40% of the pie gates. One thing I noticed in our run in 22 was that home teams, there's a cost. And I don't know if this is still in place with the new format they're going to, if they even fucking do a cup this year, is there's a cost that goes up each round for a home team to host, which means it's coming out, there's more and more and more out of each pockets, to the point where you barely even see a lower league team host a thing unless they're deep in the fucking pockets. There's only a handful of USL teams, maybe I would say 8 to 10, I would think, maybe more than that if it's more powerful than I'm thinking, that have the coin to willing to do that.
You'd hope the league would actually subsidize that at the least.
But if I'm CBS, if I'm ESPN Plus, especially with the Super League Indeed not only applying for and getting D1 sanctioning, and seeing the rumblings that came out last summer about the talks of maybe implementing a promotion relegation, because Red, you were talking about promotion relegation structure within USL, or maybe the talk of the men going for D1 sanctioning. I think this shit pushes USL's hand to go for, or at least the financial partners that are funding USL, i.e. the television contracts, and not only ESPN Plus, but CBS now, because that's why I think everybody's schedules this season is more fucked than what it was before, with the amount of midweek games we thought were going to go away. Now there's even more of them. So it means to tell me that this league is dependent on deals, like TV.
What I said to you last night, Garrett, if I was an editor with ESPN or CBS Sports,
right,
I would be pushing my writers to be blasting MLS right now, because what does it matter? MLS isn't on CBS. MLS isn't on ESPN.
Nope.
You have television rights,
Fox only,
to
and Apple.
USL. Yep. You have television rights to USL right now. You could be pushing that narrative that MLS is a shitty league. It's a leech that just is sucking the life away from soccer in this country, and they're not doing it. Well, they're not doing it yet, but I mean, and the thing is too, is like this MLS isn't the NFL, so MLS is even more reliant on television deals than somebody like NFL, because the NFL can do whatever the hell they want. They can go and say whatever they want. They can go and do whatever they want. And you're going to have networks, tripping over themselves to get, Sunday night rights, Monday night rights, and then Super Bowl rights. Yep. But that's not going to happen with
NFL.
MLS.
Has a deal with every network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a deal with every network, and it's going to keep on getting more and more lucrative, as the years go on. MLS, it's not like that for them. They have to sit there. They have to suck up to these networks, and to try to get a good deal for themselves. Which I don't know how things went last time around with Fox, ESPN. Now they're on Apple Plus, Apple TV, whatever it's called, and they're just not in the position to be asking really much of anything. So, like I said, if I'm CBS Sports, if I'm ESPN, and I'm an editor there, I am telling my writers to blast MLS right now for all of this,
And if I'm also an executive partner that's working with like USL and your deal, and like especially in your deals, like willing to give how much for having your coverage, that's part of your thing of pushing them to make, take the next steps to implement this. People are say pro route or D1. You get that going, we'll back you up, and you might be more in the run for the deal. Because in the end, we all know money fucking talks.
Well, and that I think that's the thing right there is the question that emerges in my head about this all is MLS, but MLS is a collection as a business entity is a collection of multimillionaires, right?
Yeah.
These are people who, and here's the thing, like my thing about MLS, like some of the counterpoints to MLS even coming to Detroit that we would see, from our supporter base, the idea, right, that MLS teams, they don't even make money. And I think sometimes, from my perspective, people miss the mark on that, right? Is that the people who invest in these MLS teams, they have a lot of other investments that they make interdependent and, and interconnected with what they're doing in this business arrangement. You know what I mean? So like, whether or not like Gilbert and Gores, we're going to make money off of a Detroit MLS team is kind of irrelevant. At the end of the day, Gilbert owns a shit ton of real estate in the area that he was trying to get either a stadium, which, seemed to be like a sham, or get him at Ford Field. He owns these properties around there. Even if he doesn't operate the businesses, he leases them out and he gets paid for drawing crowds into places where he has this real estate investment. You know what I mean? So in some sense, when it comes to MLS and what the Feds should do or what, like I agree with you, Adam, that folks should be blasting them. But my question is these people, these rich people that are behind making the decisions for MLS, like what are the business ties otherwise? Like there's a reason why, like, because this is the thing is that this is even sexy media. You know what I mean? Like people would be eating it alive. You know what I mean? It's controversy. It's a fight. You know what I mean? Like this would draw in viewership. This would draw in listenership. But they're not covering it, right? There's these business, there's got to be these business connections that, hold people back. The same reason why you might not see certain levels of criticism about Gilbert and such with, Detroit News and the Freak. You know what I mean? There's often these ties. So I don't know. I always wonder those pieces, like what's going on behind the scenes. Soccer just seems to be the paint job on the surface, and we're really invested in it. But, for those who actually own these clubs, you know what I mean? Most of them don't give a shit about soccer, right? They give a shit about making money, and so there's a reason why certain people aren't saying certain things.
And I think to show you kind of the setting of how U.S. soccer even does in CONCACAF. So, in the current form of the CONCACAF Champions League, which started in the 2008-2009 season, all of these seasons, with the exception of one, have been by a Mexican club. Only one that was a U.S., and that was Seattle Sounders in 2022. Before that, in the original instance that was the CONCACAF Champions Cup, only 2 U.S. teams out of a format of 47 years. So, for as much as MLS is having the thing, and Apple and Messi, where do they're fucking peons. They may have the money out of everyone in CONCACAF. But when it comes to the actual quality of the game against other club teams that make up the CONCACAF region, they're fucking peasants and peons. So, and more of that's going to continue. The more of this type of shit is allowed and enforced.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's soccer wars. We knew that was ramping up. Fundamentally, U.S. Open Cup is not controlled by MLS, so they're not interested.
Yeah,
they see USL as the beneficiary of U.S. Open Cup. Secondarily everyone else, and they don't want to be part of the broader soccer community They want to maximize their own profits. So the question is, how will the rest of soccer in the United States respond to that? And that's where the federation comes in. I don't know. They've structurally they have a certain amount of control in the federation through the professional league committee, and but we haven't heard the end of this. There'll be more to come. And it could be that the U.S. Open Cup, should it go forward, will look different than it has in the past. But you know what? Hey, if they want to abandon the U.S. Open Cup to the USL, maybe we should let them.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, what to expect? The next news for the U.S. Open Cup? Nothing. Expect the unexpected, because that's what we've been seeing on here. I think we're maybe at the point now where we want to do... Actually, one thing before we go into closing thoughts. Adam, Den, if anyone wanted to buy merch that had some thoughts or people's mindsets on USL, MLS, USSF, where could one find that merch?
No one likes that US. Right now, Dennis looks like the NGS web store.
Fucking shill boy!
I had the USL one on earlier too, and then I was like, wait, I have the MLS one. Why am I not wearing that?
Yeah,
Your choice. There's plenty to pick from.
Yeah, no one likes that US.
Choices are yours.
You'll
You have
find
options. You have options.
Yeah, they just released
Lots of
a
villains,
fuck
lots of
USSF
t-shirts.
shirt as well. Yeah, so
This is the next to me where I do the.
You got a scarf competition. Scarf off with Alan.
I don't have
step
anywhere
up your
near as
game,
much
mate.
talent. I have enough that I could buy like three of these kind of pole and hanger situations from Temu last week, because I watched the Super Bowl and saw 3 ads for Temu with the catchy little jingle, the Temu, and it worked. And I remembered I had the Temu app, and I went looking for a solution to my scarf woes, and this is what I got for like $7. It was great.
Like we said, money talks.
They made $25 of their $21 million outlay for their Super Bowl commercials back off.
Jesus Christ.
Jackpot.
Effective marketing.
Jesus. Closing thoughts, Red Lead.
One thing actually today, like
Only one?
On a serious note. So Josh Schriver, right? It's been a conversation that's been happening under to a certain extent under the surface, right? Within the supporter base, on social media and whatnot, you know what I mean? Drumming up some concerns, obviously. Not a big fan, right? Not a big fan at all. I mean, for those of you watching or listening who don't know, Josh Schriver is a state represented in District 66, basically representing out of Oxford and Brandon area and all that, right? Started pumping out some pretty far right wing stuff, including the Great Replacement theory, the idea that white folks here in the U.S. and other areas are being replaced by darker skinned immigrants, and that it's an orchestrated effort, right, to rid the white race when you trace it back. I guess there's no really easy way to say he's a fucking idiot. Okay, that's that. Okay, and I have strong feelings about that, right? Because you look right behind me, right? My little darling sitting right here at the Detroit City Fieldhouse. What he's doing is no different. And I know we don't really dive too deeply into politics on this show. You know what I mean? This touches close to home for us for a few different reasons. You know, when you and what he's actually saying is not something that's new. Like, it's not a brand new idea, right? Obviously, with this whole wave that come along with Trump, and, you know, in ways preceded him even, you know, a lot of people are jumping on that ship and pandering to far right-wing base in order to move themselves politically, regardless of why they might be doing it, whether they even believe it or not. Like, it's dangerous shit. It's dangerous stuff, and it's people, when it starts to come that close to home, it invokes some pretty strong emotions for me, because anybody who would stand up there and lead this state in any way, shape, or form to suggest that my daughter and, for example, her mother and her family who immigrated here are somehow here to replace or put us in danger, and then actually do that under the guise of my own faith. For those of you who don't know me, those who do know me know that I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian, right? And this is a politician that wears that on his sleeve. So anyway, I think in many ways, he's trash, right? And he shouldn't be in a position to make decisions on behalf of residents of the state in any way, shape, or form, and certainly shouldn't be doing it under the banner of my faith. So that's that. All right, let me just say that. With that, there comes a connection, right? So for those of you who don't know, and I don't really even fully feel comfortable of making this connection for those of you who do know, but Josh is the husband of one of our beloved players for this club, right? Josh Schriver, who's a goalkeeper for our women's side, on the outdoor squad, and currently in the indoor squad. And, you know, I feel very strongly about some of the things that I was worried that would be drummed up connecting her to this, right? And I'm not going to get in the ins and outs and speculate in a public forum, you know, about whether or not she agrees that with him or not, or whatever it is. I've met her. I would consider her somebody who I got a chance to sit down and get to know on a more personal level. And in no way, shape, or form did I see that was reflected in how she conducted herself as a person, much less as somebody who shares the faith as me, same faith as me. I do have a concern, though. You know, I was at the game on Saturday, and I was up in the clubhouse watching the game from above in the second half. And at one point in time, I think it was after, I think it might have been after we got the only goal scored on us, or maybe we scored, I can't remember. And one of the supporters that were up there started to chant, and I'm not gonna identify who it is, right? Because I don't believe in that. Sometimes people just having drinks and they're making these connections and they say whatever comes to their mind. And you know, I believe in giving people grace, let them make mistakes, but this person started chanting fascist keeper, right, at our keeper. And this is one of our supporters, right? Now, luckily, he only said this twice and realized that nobody else, it wasn't catching on, because I think the overwhelming majority of people who are there would disagree with that assessment, right? But that concerns me, right? That concerns me for a few reasons. And it's a complicated way to kind of enter into that conversation and address it, because in no way, shape, or form am I trying to excuse what her husband is doing, right? And I don't know her well enough to know that she even does, and I don't think that I want to get into speculating on whether or not she does or not, right? It's none of my business in that sense, right? But when we get into a place when we start making those particular connection with no seeming logic, you know, like there's no reason to believe that she even, believes in this stuff, right? And then beginning to kind of drum up that kind of culture that could potentially make one of our players, somebody who I would say is one of our beloved players of the squad that have been an integral part of growing the women's side, in any way, shape, or form feel unwelcomed or unsafe. Right? We can have a variety of disagreements among us in the supporter base. We have and will continue to have disagreements with different players who come and go that have different beliefs that might conflict with the dominant culture within our supporter base. And we can do that. We can have that, and we can advocate one way or the other. But you know, I take a huge issue with anybody who would go out of their way to say that. Now, I'm not saying that to say, okay, let's identify who, because I know who it was, right? I'm not going to say, I'm going to tell you who their name is and we should find them and we should toss them in the tunnel and beat the hell out of it. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, I know how I am at matches. I might have a couple of beers, this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, and if you're younger and you're sorting through your ideas on different things, you know what I mean? I can see how somebody with a few drinks in them might make that connection and start saying something like that, you know. And I just caution folks. I mean, I for one am gonna be very vocal about standing against that, you know. And don't get me wrong, if one of our players was very overt, you know what I mean, in the way that espousing ideas like that of Josh Schriver, you know what I mean, like they would be hearing from me, you know what I mean. Not that that would end anything, but I'm just saying, you know, these situations are extremely tricky, especially when we're talking about somebody who is not connected to the club, but only connected to the club through somebody who is, you know what I mean? And, you know, I know just as much as anybody, you know, that, you know, partnerships can be tricky, you know? So, and there's a lot of things that we don't know in that regard, you know what I mean? And so I would just caution people to discern that a bit. You know, it honestly, and I'll wrap up here in a minute, but I haven't had a good rant in a while. In some ways, what it reminds me of is this, you know, when I started at Central Michigan University as an incoming freshman in fall of '99, and I was there in Mount Pleasant for a good 10 years, getting my bachelor's, my master's, and starting my career there. As an undergrad, I was very involved in a lot of community organizing around racial justice and racial equity, racial reconciliation. And I felt extremely strong about using my voice to speak out against some of the white supremacist groups that were frequenting the community. And we even had gathered together and ran like the National Socialist Movement and other groups out of town that were trying to organize during racially divisive times. And I was always one of those people who, you know, would freely, you know, speak my mind in a public setting. And I often wrote articles in support, particularly of the Black community, because of my upbringing and my affiliations and my circle of friends, etc. I've always had a very strong feelings of connection and in ways service to the Black community in particular. And so I would even write things like articles in CM Life. You could probably Google CM Life, Sean Novak, and read some of the articles from like 20 years ago, if they even have them on there. But anyway, sometimes I would bring up things in I had a righteous indignation to me, you know what I mean? And what I was saying wasn't necessarily wrong, but what I was saying and how I was saying things at times wasn't necessarily productive and often created a hostile environment or contributed to a hostile environment that didn't impact me as a white man, that impacted my Black friends, right? You know, and that was a tough lesson that I had to learn through years of organizing, that even with good intentions, right? So obviously any of us should be, you know, against fascism. So somebody saying, you know, fascist goalkeeper, somebody who's at the root of it is against fascism is not a bad person. You know what I mean? So I can operate from there in terms of how I approach that person. But sometimes we can get so passionate about things and so passionate about supporting various communities that have been oppressed for so long that we might approach things in ways that actually create a hostile environment unintentionally for those who aren't the ones that are responsible. And I had to learn that the tough way luckily through friends who were open and honest and told me what I needed to hear, even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear. Maybe subconsciously in those moments, I wanted to hear that I was a good white boy. You know what I mean? I wasn't one of those white people, you know what I mean? And so it might have developed into a level of performative activism. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I'm coming from, even in these situations. Like oppose Josh Schriver. If you're in District 66 and he represents you, get together, organize, get out the vote campaigns. You know, his term ends at the end of this year, right? So, you know, organize and get him out of it, right? You don't need people like that there. And you can go back and even look at the voting in that district in recent years, even though it's been largely Republican, it's not been a blowout, you know what I mean? So it's kind of teeters back and forth over the years. in that community. And I'm not saying if you vote a Democrat in there, everything's going to be peachy either, right? I'm a very solid independent. But anyway, just wrapping it up, like, you know, discerning like how we approach this stuff. Like we do have a culture of, associated with this club of inclusivity. Even if it wasn't associated with the club, anybody who's out there that is remotely connected with the club, that is trying to push theories that white people are trying to be replaced for people like this little sweet one on the ground here, right? Obviously they need to be drowned out and their level of influence need to be minimized. But in the process of doing that and how we respond to that, I would just caution us not to swing wildly in a way where maybe some innocent people who very well may see this club as, you know, a fresh breath of air, may be unintentionally harmed with that shrapnel. So that's all I have to say about that. That's all that, just that 10 minutes.
I'm going to go in order for that. Adam, Den, Alan, and then I'll wrap.
Well, first of all, Red, can you take Angel home to go to bed? Is she laying down behind you, sleeping in the field house right now?
Well,
cry for help, Red.
Where's she at?
Take her home. Leave the field house and take her home so she's not sleeping on that nasty turf that they have there.
Pellets, man. Pellets, man.
I'm pretty sure that you get a immunization from COVID just by laying on that turf.
I think Red, that was very, very well said. And I wrote an article a couple weeks ago. I mean, making that connection, and I think it was important to not necessarily make that connection, but realize the connection from the standpoint that it's not so much troublesome that Gabby is on the team, because that's not the case with this. It's her husband that's on the team, or that's not on the team, but is connected in that way to the team. And I'm not saying Gabby needs to be off the team. I'm not saying that at all, because she doesn't. Quite frankly, she doesn't deserve to be kicked off the team or anything like that, or distanced from the team, because she hasn't said anything. And I don't think anybody can. I think it's unfair, and it's a privileged take to automatically assume that you can sit here and think that one person can go and take these actions against a spouse without fully knowing the situation that they're in. And right now, the reason why I thought it was important to make that connection, just because of where the club was coming from and some of the shit that Josh has tried to do in the past by bringing the club into the equation. And I wanted to sit there and illustrate to everybody what he has done, what he has said, and why there is that conflict between Detroit City FC supporters and himself. And I think I did that. And I also was very careful to make mention, too, that Gabby has never said anything to make that conflict, any more, difficult. Because right now, I think, I mean, there's nothing really that you can seriously get mad at Gabby over. Again, just because we don't know the situation that is going on with her, and we don't have to live with that fucking asshole every single day. We don't have to go home to that asshole every single day. And if you're not going to games because Gabby's on the team, if you're not going to the games because of shit that Josh Schriver has said, then I'm not going to get mad at you over that. That is your decision to make. I respect that. But, going on and calling her a fascist goalkeeper, not knowing what is entirely going on. I mean, none of us know really entirely what's going on. But, I mean, going and throwing that term around, it mitigates what that term actually is and how serious that ideology actually is, and the dangerous impacts that gross ideology inflicts on people and communities and whatnot. So, like I said, I thought it was important to, just give a little bit of the history of between the club and Josh Schriver and the supporters. And unfortunately, Gabby gets mixed up in that a little bit as well, given her relationship. But I will say this, that, I think the club is taking the right approach with this. It is a delicate, tricky, tough situation to navigate. And out of all the things that I have criticized the club for, that we have all criticized the club for in the past, I think that they're taking the right approach, because I think Red is right too when he says that Gabby has had a huge she's played a huge role when it comes to the women's team being where it's at today. I mean, she's one. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, she is one of the players that helped orchestrate this PASL team that we have right now, that everybody's enjoying, that is selling, that has sold out, I think, pretty much every single Saturday home game that they've had. So, and again, it's again the Josh Schriver stuff. Like Red said, I mean, he's speaking from a place of personal experience on this, obviously with his daughter. I'm speaking of this from personal experience myself. I am Mexican. Josh Schriver has gone out there and specifically talked to, my group of people. In addition to Red's daughter, my people, Josh is speaking to black and brown people, that are trying to replace the white race, which is complete and total bullshit. So, it sucks. It's a shitty situation, but again, for all the things that we can criticize the club for, I actually think that they're taking the right approach with this right now. So, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's the wrong approach to go out there and, scream fascist goalkeeper at Gabby when, it helps nothing. It does not help the situation at all. So that's it.
Then
I'll touch on this real quick and then get into my actual one. I'm glad that Red, you brought this up kind of head on, because this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said certain players look like they're having fun playing this season of the PASL, and it's why I specifically name checked Gabby and said, her Instagram story has seemed to be markedly different in the last few weeks, where she's just bigging up the team and her teammates, and like I see Kayla bigging her up too, and like sharing pictures of her and Gabby, which speaks volumes to me, that like her teammates are happy to be playing with her. And yeah, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know what goes on behind the doors of the training ground and the dressing room and whatever, but like stuff like that says to me that like everybody's happy to have her there. And other stuff we've heard from different sources, I think makes this a very pertinent conversation when it comes to like, fuck him, but like let's look after our own. Which, yeah, she's one of our own. She's been one of our own for a while, and unless something drastically changes and there's a reason to cast her out, I feel like that's the play. That's the play right here. And yeah, the club seems to be taking that same play, and I'm sure the club is doing that for a reason also. So yeah, good job bringing it up directly, as opposed to pussyfooting around it. But yeah, that's where we're at, and that's what we should be doing. So whoever that was chanting that, and I have a fair guess who it might have been. Yeah, let's cut that shit out if you listen.
Right.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
And I say that, and I say that about this person that, like, let me be clear too, that I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I just want you to realize, you know,
The weight of your words.
Weight of your words. There's been times, even in this supporter base, where I opened my mouth about certain things and created division, you know, over the years. I have, you know, some of it that I do not regret, you know, some of it that, you know, maybe I could have approached a different way, you know, and there's just got to be a point in time, you know, where, you know, you realize those mistakes that you made and turn another direction. It ain't nothing but love, you know, and that's what this club overwhelmingly is about. So, sorry, I took up enough time, so I'll shut up.
You're good. Alan?
Not a lot to add to what's been said. All of it's on point. You know, we're at a time in this country where, you know, the certain viewpoints feel emboldened that normally would not be part of the mainstream culture in this country. It's always been there, you know. Certainly, I you know, it is part of this country's culture, but at this particular point, we have to confront a lot more of this head on than maybe in the past. So, unfortunately, I think this is, you know, themes like these are going to come up again in the future. But in terms of this particular situation, I think what people have said, I totally endorse. And I think it's a difficult situation to navigate. It does hit close to home. But to this point, it seems like most people involved have taken a wise course on this, and yeah, I hope we can continue to do so. That's all I got.
I'm going to say that to those that that are obviously not coming to matches, protest, and as their form of protest, not happy with the situation, words being said by Josh Schriver. Some, I think, are basically questioning, I think, even too, whether how much they want to be even involved with Detroit City as a club moving forward. To each their own. I understand. I can, you know, I'm not in those person's shoes to understand how they're feeling or whatever. I just urge people to think not just with how it's immediately hitting you, but think of the whole picture. These are words being said not by Gabby Schreiber, not by Gabby in a public saying. These are words being said by her husband. There's her husband that's saying the shit that is causing you to be upset. Until she says something publicly, the club is doing all that they can do. And that might be a painful thing for those that are feeling bothered by that. But That's it. Then you said it. She's one of our own. She hasn't said anything publicly. And you see the camaraderie of that team and the different demographics that make up this PASL side team. And how much unity. For as fucking difficult of a situation as is, and we've seen situations similar where teams form, confidence, everything gets derailed, thrown off to the side. That's not happening with this side. If anything, they're uniting. Some of the best football that they've played all year has happened these last couple weekends. So that's kind of my point. And and Adam and I talked about this Friday night in Detroit City Sportscast. For me personally, I'm a man in the spectrum, either Asperger's or high functioning. Like Red, I am, faith is a big part of my life. Church, working on becoming a worship leader. And I take great offense to someone who uses his faith to weaponize ideas and beliefs and everything that is against that I see the teachings. Opposite of that. Love, unite, be together for one another. That is not what this man is preaching. So I'm fucking pissed when I see that. But again, I'm not pissed at Gabby Schriver for that. I'm pissed at her husband. Let's separate that completely. And to that person who said that line, I get that you might be upset about the whole situation and maybe affected by whatever it is, but you don't need to take up your issues with Gabby. You need to take up her issues with her husband. And keep it that. And if anybody is and wants to have a discussion with and feel, why am I wrong? You know how to get a hold of me on social media. You know how to get a hold. Let's have discussions as people. But let's also be reasonable. Let's be human beings. Because we fucked up in our times more than once. But we learn from that. Even ourselves in this situation. As this has taken place, I think we have examined ourselves and our thoughts and how we feel about this. And maybe have thought a little bit differently about it as to how we might have first have when news of this thing started coming out. So, that's what I got there as far as that situation. I do not envy the situation that the Detroit City front office is in. It is a very fucking delicate situation. To the point where this gets coverage in the Detroit News, not by Nolan Bianchi, sports columnist, but by Beth Labonte, political columnist. To the point where the governor of this state, members in this state, are calling out that. So this little thing that started off here, much bigger. But, I applaud this PASL side for sticking together, playing as a squad. Fatima Nasser, great person to chat with on Saturday. Loved having the interview. All that we got to meet throughout this PSL home match season. It was an honor. There's 5 more games. We get to see them kick WAZA's ass next weekend. I can't fucking wait. And with that, if you haven't seen any of the games, check out this club's website, DetroitCity.com, or YouTube, Detroit City's page on YouTube for the matches. I don't know if any of our away games are going to have video. It's maybe not. So I know there's going to be live tweets this Saturday from the club in Kalamazoo, Portage, wherever they're at, going to be playing. So that's that. Huh?
Toledo.
That team's in 2 weeks, then.
There's 2 Kalamazoo teams?
Yeah. There's 2 zoos. 2 zoos.
Today I learned.
But in other words, now also want to give a shout out to Adam for not only writing that piece a couple weeks ago, just feeding people in on the facts of what's taking place, but also, and you know, that led to some great discussion that we had as a group, I think, which I really appreciated and got to be on that. But also,
I was gonna get on you about the shout outs, but it was towards me, so it was okay.
yeah, because I also have to give you a shout out towards the other thing, because we branched out a little bit into this in 451, and I started off as what I was originally pissed off last April of the 451 logo being put in Detroit Lions colors is something I'm now looking back with a fucking smile on my face, because that's allowed us to also, as all of us have loves outside of Detroit City. So we for those that are looking to see what are our takes on Detroit sports other than Detroit City, Detroit City Sportscast.
Red's gonna cut this part out.
Yeah, me and Alan have decided that we're gonna start up a separate show about
yes.
the Quidditch Premier League. It's
You know,
kind
we
of
also
an exciting spot.
we also
Dennis is gonna start a show about Chicago sports, about the Bears and the Blackhawks, and
yeah, you
Well,
could.
no, I
Fire.
was just saying that's wild because I'm next week I'm gonna start promoting my show about kabaddi.
As you can see here,
If there is a sport that exists in the world, we're going to cover it. On channel 451.
Kabaddi. What is
You can
kabaddi?
count
That
on it.
sounds like a category on a porn site. What is kabaddi?
No, kabaddi is a Indian sport that's kind of a mix of like Red Rover and dodgeball ish.
he made you. Den just made you feel real stupid there, Red.
No, why would he know what kabaddi is? That's why we're doing the podcast.
That's right.
You mentioned it's first not sport. It's just. But
Oh my.
yeah, I mean,
Do your closing thing. You know,
Yeah.
Please.
Here, do the fluffy part real quick.
Majors.net/channel 451 for all your content, past episodes, including this first one. Social, anywhere you check out your podcasts and stuff. That includes Molding Over City, any other Molding Sicko content, the Majors Detroit. Kill the Keg 2 weeks from that next weekend. WAZA beforehand, Detroit City Clubhouse. Annual owners meeting March 9th. Season starts March 16th. Win, lose, or draw city overall. WAZA, we kicking your ass next weekend. Motherfuckers, one and all. Good night.
Good night.
You guys ever used Bumble before?
City till I die, say hi to the bad guy. Pretty gritty in the key, you see our flag fly, chin check. Hashtag we came to sweep the leg. With all disrespect, the rules will bruise your head. 2012 the scene pop, we came to clean clocks. Your team is dream drop, we gave some mean knocks. Stomping on the count, yeah we chomping on the bit. Many came and went, but they ain't stopping none of it. Community built, community owned. Roasting foes coast to coast, leave your hope postponed. Spirit of Detroit, lemons the lemonade. Yemen and Bangladesh make a stronger braid. City in the city, within the city with deep. Witty with the banter, cause our candor can creep. Now come and get it if you with it, we committed to go. Detroit for everybody, you already know. Locked and loaded, always ready to bust. Pop and smoke, leave these jokers in dust. City of black, excellence is a must. To leave these crusty little clowns in a ring of rust. From southwest to Brightmoor, 5 points to Denby. Ain't no friendly, we leave our enemies empty with envy. Yeah, we coming heavy, and we're sinking your ship. Now it's time to show the world who they messing with. The rules on the scene, wipe your feet when you creep through the gates of Key. We holding the crown, many enter our grounds, but they get pounded down. Let's turn around, you enter through those gates, you face your fate now. Come take your shot, many come, but they don't leave, they cleave to what we got. City till I die, say hi to the bad guy. It's a pity that your city's too itty bitty to fly, but we clipping the wings even if they don't flap. Take it back to 2010 and you'll see where we at. This ain't a deep pocket, they try but can't knock it intact. You can't drop it, they buy but can't cop it. Yeah, we got it locked, taking over the game. You see that crust up on my chest, ain't gotta say the name. Community led, community rooted. You can't purchase what was built, you know you feel the movement. This is how we do it, you see, repping the deep. 3/4 of a million raised to patch up the key. And you ain't never ever seen a better weather scene.